What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Not a Sheep podcast. My name is Narwhal, and I'm here with Matt.
Let's go. What's up?
Matt, how's it been? What have you been listening to? What have you been up to recently?
Recently, it's kind of all over the place with what I've been listening to, but I think I talked about it a couple episodes ago. Dominic Fike's album from a couple months ago is really good. Have you listened to the new Jid and Earth Gang album, Spilligion?
I haven't, no.
No, okay. Well, it's a really good album.
Wait, what'd you say? What's it called?
Spilligion. It's like religion, but like Spillage Village.
Oh, because Spillage Village is their group.
Yeah.
They're like duo, right?
I'm pretty sure, yeah, the Spillage Village is usually just Jid and Earth Gang, but now I think like Black's on the album, a bunch of other great artists. But anyways, a lot of other stuff too. Randomly, Andy Mineo dropped a couple new singles, and when I listened to those, it made me like go back and re-listen through his catalog. But yeah, that's kind of it though. What about you?
Cool. Well, speaking of Andy Mineo, I think a couple weeks from now, 2 weeks from now, Matt and I are going to talk about some Andy Mineo projects.
Yes, sir.
For our Throwback album review. Before we get any deeper into this episode, just right here at the start, I want you guys to know that next episode we're going to be interviewing our first, I guess, like more well-known guests, which is really cool. It's going to be Justin Stone and Adrian Strezzo.
Yes, sir.
Both of who we have been fans of for a long time. Matt, you kind of almost like have studied their, like you are more than just a fan in the sense that I feel like you almost have like studied their music, and a lot of their sound and has been an influence in your music.
Definitely, yeah. I think I was like 13 or 14 when I found Adrian's music on like rapzilla.com or something, and there was just some article about him being in high school and like putting out mixtapes, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. That's like where I want to be by the time I'm like a senior in high school. And so I like checked out a couple of his mixtapes, and it was just cool because it was like an eye-opening experience hearing like a kid that's only a couple years older than me rapping about like high school stuff, but it like wasn't corny, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it like kind of made me realize, oh, if I want to do music, I don't have to like fake and talk about stuff that I'm not actually going through.
That was the first example of like someone that you felt like you could kind of be like.
Yeah, and it's like there's big artists I relate to, but like when you're a kid, you're ultimately going to relate to another kid.
Yeah. So, and then Justin Stone as well, he's really been popping off the last couple of years.
Yeah, he's really like one of the hardest working artists I've seen. Like he just always has new music out. Yeah,
it's actually crazy. It's hard to believe. He'll drop an album, and then I feel like just a couple months later he'll have a whole nother project or a few singles. And
he tweeted the other day, or was on his Instagram story, like, do you think I can drop a song every day in 2021? I'm like, that probably means he's got like 365 songs just ready to go.
Bro, a song a day?
That's insane.
That's actually insane. But yeah, so, we've been both listening to them for a while now, and we're excited to have them on the show next week to talk about their upcoming project.
Yes,
there's a fly in here. God, I swear, bro, there's no flies in here like any of the days we're in here except for when we record this show. It's so weird. But yeah, so we're excited to have them on. Be sure to tune in next week. And also we have full video versions on YouTube, so you guys can go check that out. Yes, but Matt, I found this artist named Nick D.
Okay.
Who you follow on Instagram, but I didn't know who he was, and I opened TikTok one day, and he pops up on my For You page, and it's him. Apparently he has this series where he does apparently he records his music in the back of like his van, kind of like a minivan type thing. Yeah. And so it's these videos. He has like a videographer friend who films them, and he does like these one take videos basically singing the song, like literally with the same mic we use, and he just kind of holds it and like sings, but it's like the studio version of his song kind of. And it just, a lot of his clips are going viral, and it's because they're songs off his new album that he just dropped.
Oh, okay.
And he's so good. Like, you guys have to go listen to Nick D if you're into hip hop, but even if you're not, because he really does both. Like, he is a rapper, but he's a singer as well.
Yeah.
I don't think he's more one or the other. And so his debut album is called This Can't Be It, and it is it's 16 songs, no features, just him. It's amazing, and I've been listening to all his other songs as well, and I really think you guys should check it out. But yeah, it's funny. I followed him on TikTok right away because I was like, damn, this guy's really talented. And then I checked out his Instagram, and then I saw Matt's following him, And I was like, damn, if Matt is following him, he must be good because I trust Matt's judgment. So then I went to his Spotify and have just listened through all his projects. Definitely underrated. I think he has like 100,000 monthly listeners, which is like definitely something, but
Yeah.
I really could see him being really big in a couple years.
I'm pretty sure I found him on TikTok too, and then I just followed him over on Instagram. But yeah, I just couldn't remember at the time when you told me about him.
Yeah. So definitely, I think whatever you're into, you'd probably relate to. Like this is,
Unless you're into like country.
well, yeah, maybe not.
Just country.
Once a year, I feel like I find an artist that I really, really connect with, a new artist, and not in the sense like, oh, I like their songs or this is well produced, but just I really like deep down felt like I can relate to this guy's like struggle and his like grind to like make it. And I don't know, it's just a cool story, I guess. But with that being said, right off the bat, Matt, have you heard about, this is like a couple of weeks ago now, but I wanted to let it marinate and figure out when would be the best time to bring it up. But have you heard about Dr. Dre's ex-wife and
No,
their whole divorce that's happening?
I've heard stuff that there is drama, but I don't know what it is.
Okay, so this is actually pretty hilarious. So, well, it's sad, but they're getting a divorce with his wife of like 28 years or a long time. But in her divorce settlement, she is trying to demand $2 million a month, a $2 million a month settlement from Dr. Dre. And she goes in to explain, she writes down what she needs $2 million a month for. And so I'm just going to read through some of these items and see what you think.
I'm excited.
Okay, so according to legal documents obtained by TMZ, Dr. Dre's soon-to-be ex-wife has provided a list of monthly expenses that explain why she needs $1,936,399 in temporary spousal support. The document points to some pretty wild expenses, such as $135,000 a month for clothes.
Okay, fair.
$20,000 a month on a phone and email. Didn't really know you had to pay. I mean, maybe if you have like a Google business account, but that's like 20
That's like how much
bucks a month.
businesses probably pay.
Yeah. So I don't know why you need $20,000 a month. $10,000 a month on laundry.
Okay.
She uses
a lot of quarters.
A whole lot of detergent. I guess so. And a whopping $900,000 a month on entertainment. Now, I don't know what type of entertainment she's
going to the club.
Needing, but I guess she's just blowing racks at the club or something. And it's during, I mean, it's during COVID, so maybe
she just rents a lot of movies.
Yeah, she's renting a lot of movies. She now has like all the streaming platforms. So
she does it on Apple TV where it's like $8 to rent a movie sometimes. So you need that.
Yeah, and she's got Disney Plus, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime. That adds up.
It does really quickly. I wonder what when Logic got divorced. I mean, I think she's doing fine, and I don't know what their settlement stuff was, but I think you can get away with if you're marry a celebrity and get out of it.
Yeah, and I mean, but she's like a singer as well. What's her name?
Well, yeah, but I think the only singing opportunities she had were through Logic, and I don't think she really sings anymore. Yeah,
dude, that was so weird. God, this fly. That was so weird because I remember they were like, at least on social media, they seemed to be like so in love.
Mm-hmm.
You remember when he, the video where on her birthday or anniversary, he like hired a whole band?
Yeah, a whole like orchestra to come play.
Yeah, and they like played her favorite song like in their house to wake her up.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's that. I just thought that was hilarious. But anyways, Matt, something that I saw today on Instagram was something that you posted, and it's that, what's his name?
Kevin Hackett.
Kevin Hackett basically posted a proposition, in a sense, to Spotify to basically add a feature where they can now give credit to like graphic designers and photographers who create album art.
Yeah, and what he was proposing, it almost sets up like in the same way artists have pages, like musical artists, like the graphic design artists will also have their own like description, like what they've worked on, and like links to their social media and stuff like that. I think they need to do that, but I also think they need to do that for producers. They need to do that for everyone. Not like, well, I guess at some point it would be to the point where like every single musician would have it.
Yeah.
Which I guess there's nothing wrong with, but like the engineers would have it, like, because there's some big songs where there's like 40 people on that one song doing something.
Yeah, well, I think they should have, at the very least, they should at least have an option where you can like click to learn more about this song or
Yeah.
something, where you can find this guy made the album art, this guy was the main producer, these were like the engineers, and I don't know.
Genius on the app does a pretty good job of that. But I don't think people nowadays are as into Genius as they were, because like I don't know if Spotify does, but I know Apple Music has lyrics now, and then on like there's music videos on both streaming services now, so it's like a lot of people don't really venture outside of that app too much.
Oh, there's music videos on Apple Music now?
There is, yeah.
And
There's been for a
Spotify?
little bit. I don't know if there is on Spotify because I don't use Spotify, but
Wait, let me check, because there was a music video. I don't see any music videos on here.
okay.
I don't know. Maybe there is for like certain songs or something, but
Mhm.
yeah, no, I think that's super cool, because I know Joe Rogan, like biggest podcast in the world, really just signed exclusively with Spotify,
Yeah.
and his podcast now on Spotify plays the video version,
Really,
and it's the
Okay.
first time ever that a podcast has had that ability where you can now watch the video version on Spotify as opposed to having to go to YouTube,
Yeah.
which I think is that's a really big leap. And the fact that Apple Music is doing it with music videos, that's huge. If they can find a way to like funnel those views. I don't know if it's like taking the music video from YouTube and kind of putting it through Apple Music. So like where if someone watches it on Apple Music, does that still count as like a YouTube view?
I don't think so. I think it's its own thing. And I don't even know how artists do that. I think it's more like a label. Like it's only the huge artists that have like access to that.
Yeah.
So I don't really, I feel like they need to make more progress where they can make that like an open thing. Same with like the Spotify thing. Like imagine if we could put this podcast like on Spotify with the video.
No, I mean, I think in a few years that'll probably be a norm. I
Yeah.
hope it is at least. I think we're moving in a direction where everything will hopefully get to a point where it's integrated.
Yeah.
Like all the platforms are somehow interconnected, because it's getting that way with gaming right now, where you can people are playing like with PC, PS4, Xbox people, and even when in a couple months when the new consoles come out, you're going to be able to play on the new PS5, and you're going to be able to play with someone on like an Xbox One or a PS4. And that cross-platform stuff, I think, is going to be really big.
I think, yeah, music definitely needs to do that. Even like on Apple TV, like now you can just search like a movie title and it'll bring up all the options for like, you can watch it free on Netflix or you can rent it on whatever, not Hulu. Hulu's free, but like it gives you all the options. And I feel like, I don't know, it'd be cooler if music somehow had a way where you can like integrate the platforms together.
Yeah. I wonder if music... I've thought about this a lot recently. The reason that so many people can blow up on TikTok is because of the way the algorithm works so much differently than these other social media platforms, in the sense that on TikTok, anyone can get like trending on the For You page much easier than you can. On Instagram, it's almost impossible to grow an Instagram page on Instagram.
Yeah.
Like they basically, sadly, over the years, Instagram's algorithm has just destroyed like smaller pages because you can't do it and you can't grow that way really. But
yeah.
I've always thought, what if Spotify and Apple Podcasts and even like the YouTube music, or the side of YouTube that's music, like what if they promoted artists that weren't, because I mean Spotify and Apple Music have playlists that are like, you know, the top songs in America or whatever, but what if they just had like, would randomly promote an album from a person that has like 10,000 listeners?
See, that would be really cool and make a lot of sense, but the sad reality is like Spotify has like deals with so many labels. Apple Music has deals with different labels, and that's why there's I don't remember the term for it, but I saw someone explaining it, how it kind of creates checks and balances between the two because of the labels, but it also like hurts artists a lot because of that.
Checks and balances in what sense? Like what do you mean?
Like if a certain label, like say these 3 labels have deals with Spotify and these 3 have deals with like Apple Music, I don't know, I don't even know. It just balances out because one of them can't really get too far ahead because I don't know, if they promote something that's not on their label too much, it'll go against them. But
yeah, I don't know. I wish, just as a fan of music, I love finding new artists, and I just wish it was easier to find new artists through these streaming platforms. But
I should make We should get Kevin Hackett to make another proposition about the mixtapes that we talked about a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, dude. No, I mean, so for people who don't know, Kevin Hackett, do you want to explain who Kevin Hackett is?
Yeah, so he's a really dope, just all around artist. He does music, but he's pretty known for his like graphic design and like cover artwork and stuff like that, like visually. He works with Reach Records now, but
that's Lecrae's.
That's Lecrae's label, yeah. And so, but he kind of got his come up through like just working with smaller artists like Adrian Stresso and like branching out that way. And he's worked with a bunch of guys like he worked with Black Keys or B Keys, Jon Bellion guy. Yeah.
Did he change his name?
I think it's just B
Keys now?
Yeah, like B. Keys.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. But anyways, he's worked with a bunch of guys. He's super dope. Like if you're a fan of graphic design, check him out. If you're a fan of music, check him out because he's got a really good album from last year.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Cool. So something we talked about 2 weeks ago, the episode before Cade, is Futuristic. We kind of thought he was retiring, but we didn't know exactly what it was.
Right.
And now he has announced
Indie Amplify.
Yeah. Do you want to explain what Indie Amplify is?
Yeah, sure. So basically we thought Futuristic was going into retirement. He announced that he's launching his company, Indie Amplify, which is basically like a website artists can go to where they can pay for features, they can pay for graphic design, they can pay for beats from producers, they can also pay for videos, right?
Yeah, they have. It seems like it's a one-stop shop for like anything that an upcoming artist would need, really.
Yeah, I think you can also get like artist consulting and like talk to like managers and stuff like that. And so I think that's really cool. It hasn't, at the time of this episode, I think it would have just launched because it comes out early October.
Yeah, so when this episode goes out, it'll be live.
So I haven't gone into it obviously to check it out, but from the videos it seems like a really helpful tool for artists. And I think it's interesting because I've heard a lot of people talking about like the whole paid feature thing, which is like an avenue like I tried to go down as far as like getting bigger artists on my songs.
Yeah.
And I think it's cool because on the website you can like pay, I think you can pay like, say you want to get a feature from this artist for $500, and then you can also pay like a few hundred more and they'll do a video with you and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
So it's almost like a little cosign like that.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know what you think on the whole idea of paid features, because I've talked to you about this before.
Yeah.
Because some people tend to think it's like, well, you're paying to do art with someone. It's kind of a weird concept.
It's a weird to have a transaction when it's supposed to be something that's like out of passion and creativity. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, I can kind of see why some people would be against paid features. I totally get it, but I think it's like, I don't know. I had some questions for you about paid features.
Yeah.
Like, do you think that I'm not saying all of them do this, but do you think some of them at least like don't put in the same amount of quality or effort that they would if it was their own song, or if it was a feature with like one of their homies that they really liked the song? Like, if anyone can just go buy a paid feature, if some random kid who just sucks buys a paid feature from Futuristic, is he gonna put in the amount of effort to make a good verse that he like normally would? I highly doubt that.
I agree. But at the same time, I think a lot of people that not on Indie Amplify, because that's like a website where if you pay, like you're gonna like get what you pay for. But I think there might be a thing where you can like request it and then he might turn it down.
Oh.
So I don't know if that's exactly how it works, but because I've hit up artists to do paid features before, and I'm like, how much do you charge? And they're like, usually like $500, but if you send me the song, like we'll figure something out. So it's like if they like it, they might do less. If they don't like it, they might do more.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of I don't know, it's weird, but like I think it'd be kind of lame if you were an artist and you just did every paid feature just to try to like get a quick check. But then if you do actually like it, the song though, I don't think there's anything wrong with doing paid features.
I think paid features could be really helpful for both artists, but yeah, it does get to a point where, and if you're an artist who gets a lot of paid features, like if you're, I don't know, who's like a middle tier guy on that website who's not as expensive as Futuristic, like
what's a Gone? I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's like GWAWNE, something like that.
Okay, something like that, or like what's his name, like Jared Benton or Jaron?
Jaron Benton.
Jaron Benton.
Yeah.
I think he was on there for like $700 or
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But an artist like that who's like known, if you just take every single paid feature that you get, it almost kind of is like makes you look a little worse.
That's interesting though, because it's like $700 and you get Jaron Benton, who's like a double XL freshman. Like,
yeah,
it
but doesn't seem like that much. But that's why I'm kind of confused or like at least hesitant about the whole concept of it, because like you said, maybe they do filter them and actually realize like if this is just flat out bad, maybe they can decline it, which is fine because then no one pays, no one gets hurt. But if like they have to accept it and Jaron Benton is on like 40 songs from people that suck, it kind of makes him look bad.
I've heard some artists say like, well, if the beat's good, like I don't really care if the other artists suck. Like I'm just gonna do me, and like if I'm good on the song, like I don't care. But
that's true.
I don't know. It's interesting to me because I used to think like going into 2020, my like strategy, like marketing wise, was I was thinking like if I get some paid features, like my music has improved a lot. This is going to be a good way to get some new looks. And then I started to realize like a lot of the times when artists do paid features, if they don't really like the song, they're not going to promote it in any way. And then the same people that are going to see my song, that when I normally post a song, like they might not necessarily even know who the artist is I'm like getting on the song, and it's not really adding all that much value to it.
Yeah, dude, that's what's so tough is, let's say I'm trying to think of an artist who's really big in the hip hop, who's really talented, but maybe not that well known.
Well, there's like a lot of guys that are like low key considered like washed rappers now, but they were like these huge names that do paid features and stuff like that. And they have like 500,000 followers on Instagram. But I can't think of any names off the top of my head, but and I'm sure guys pay like thousands of dollars thinking like this is going to be my big break. And then it's just nothing's going to come out of that.
Yeah, well, because, okay, I guess JID is pretty popular now, but
say if JID fell off the map and in 8 years was doing paid features, there'd be people like me who are huge fans that would like pay $5,000 because they just want to have a song with JID.
Yeah,
but they
like,
also think it's going to change their career.
Yeah, and it's not that JID is bad. It's like he's still a talented artist, but he's not as poppin'. And it's just like, all right, if you pay $10,000 for a paid feature from JID and he doesn't promote it at all, but you paid $10,000, yeah, you have a song with JID, but like you said, it's still going to be the same 3,000 Instagram followers that see it.
Yeah.
And unless you do some sort of like other additional Instagram advertising or paid advertising yourself to get it out there, it kind of sucks that there's not a way to like get it trending or anything.
Yeah. And for me, specifically for me, I just look at it like this. I've paid $200 for a verse before on a song that didn't really grow me at all. And then I've paid $15 on Instagram ads that have gained me like 300 followers. Like there's better ways for me to be spending my money is how I look at it. But I do think there's a lot of good artists that do paid features and do it right.
Yeah, for sure. And I think as long as the artist is still giving it their best.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, it would just really suck if you paid an artist that you knew has a certain level of standard.
Yeah.
And then they send you the verse that you paid them for, and it's just like not good.
Well, another thing is if you're doing music independently and dropping on DistroKid, say I even if it's not a paid feature, like I just somehow land I don't know who's a big artist, like a Kendrick feature.
Yeah.
But like I'm Matt Mogg, like I'm not a well-known artist, and I go to drop the song, it's not gonna let me on DistroKid. I'll have to like get them to send like all this information over, and they have to do it. So it's like there's a lot of people that somehow snag like a big verse from a big artist, and they get them on their song, and they go to release it, and they never
can't even release it.
So that's why you'll see on like Instagram a lot of people like, check out my song on SoundCloud, I got a Soulja Boy feature. And they're like, Soulja Boy's not going to clear it, but like he just happened to be in like a good mood that day where he did a feature.
Yeah.
And it's like, that can happen.
That's a perfect example of an artist who's probably has really expensive paid features, but is like not really popping anymore.
Exactly. And that stuff happens all the time. And that kind of opened my mind to like, okay, like I'm definitely going to do paid features, but like that's not the end all be all of marketing and music.
Yeah. Well, it seems to me that a lot of indie artists that we both kind of follow, they've grown not because of them collabing with big artists, but because of them collabing with other artists of the same size
and growing together. Exactly. That's like exactly how the Adrian Stressos, the Kevin Hackett's, the Caleb Mitchells like all grew together. And like speaking of Adrian, I'm sure we'll talk about this next week, but I've seen him talk about a bunch of times, like actually he was doing paid features the other day, but that's like he never does paid features anymore because he just doesn't like, one, he doesn't like doing them because it's like if he doesn't like the song, he doesn't like feeling like he needs to because someone just sent him money. And then also he's not a big fan of having features on his own songs because it's like it's kind of an interesting dynamic of like, all right, I got this song, I'm gonna send it out. What if they send it back and it sucks? Am I just gonna bite the bullet and put it out, or am I gonna bite the bullet and like be like, yo, sorry, like I'm cutting you off the album or something like that?
Well, I know as an artist, what do you do if you like work a long time on a song with someone that you respect, but like you get to a point where you realize you don't really want to put the song out anymore?
Yeah.
Like, how do you tell them, hey, I know you spent like a couple weeks making the song with me, but we're just gonna cut it?
Yeah, I've luckily never, everything I've ever sent out to get a feature on, everything's been fire. Like never had any problems with that. But there has been a few times where an artist has, when was smaller, hit me up to like get me on their song, and they're like, all right, let's start from scratch. Like, do you have any beats? I'm like, sure. So I'll send them a beat. They'll put something on it. I'll put something on it. And then I'm like, their verse kind of just sucks. So I just don't really ever send it back. That stuff just happens sometimes.
Yeah. I've said it before, but I'm just excited to see where you go in music in the next few years. I am excited because, I don't know. I just feel like you're taking all the steps that I've seen other indie artists do, and I feel like, I don't know, I think you're on the right path. Do you feel like you're on the right path?
You know, it's interesting because like when I really look back and think about it, I'm actually very happy with like it's like the progress of like even growing a quote unquote fan base, even for how small I am. I'm very happy with how much progress I've made. But if you would ask me like a year ago or 2 years ago, I wouldn't think I would be doing it this way, if that makes sense. Like the way I'm going about it, but I'm like happy with how it's working out.
What do you feel like? What do you mean? What is the way that you're going about it now that's different than you thought?
Well, at least since quarantine, like ever since we did the KSI video, it's been like Instagram focused. Like I tried to do TikTok for a little bit, but Instagram's where I've seen the most growth. And it's not that I'm trying to be like some Instagram rapper, but like I think Instagram is a way for me to be able to like get content out, grow. And also my favorite thing is it kind of brings back the whole like mixtape thing of, if I were to drop a remix of me rapping on someone else's beat on SoundCloud or YouTube, it's going to get like less than 100 views. Yeah. But I know I can put it on Instagram, run an ad, get some marketing around it, and people will watch it because they don't have to go to another app. Yeah. And it can get thousands of views. And it I don't know, it just brings back the whole mixtape era vibe for me.
Yeah. No, I mean, Instagram is definitely a great place to just kind of like cultivate a fan base. Not like, let's say, even if you have 5,000 followers on Instagram, but maybe a lot of them aren't your fans, I feel like Instagram is the best place out of all the platforms to turn those 5,000 into fans.
Definitely.
Just by like having consistent content. And yeah, no, I mean, you've seen a lot more growth than anyone I personally know who's done Instagram ads. Like I've done Instagram ads for the podcast stuff, and I know other buddies that have done Instagram ads, but you've seen more growth than most people I know, and it's probably because the style of content you have and these music videos, like people just really like that stuff.
Well, yeah, and like to be honest, like last year when we were doing all those videos, like we've done a pretty equal amount of videos this year and last year. But last year we were just putting them on YouTube and weren't seeing any growth. There was like a couple of them did better than others, but it was because of like, I don't know, like they were collaborations and stuff like that. But I don't know, it was just kind of like a defeating feeling, like at the end of the year being like, wow, these videos have gotten so much better and the songs have gotten so much better, but they're not seeing any growth. And then this year when we did the KSI one, it was like, oh, like I feel like I actually know how to get this in front of people now. Yeah. And so now I can focus more on like making the art in the video good. And I don't know, I think that's where we've seen the most growth for sure.
Definitely. Cool. Well, moving on here. Do you want to do a throwback album?
Oh yeah.
Throwback album review?
So this album right here is, I think, I'm just going to say, is probably one of the top 3 or 5 best albums since like 2000. Like all music.
Whoa.
Like I fully think that.
Bold statement,
Bold
but
statement.
I would also agree with you. And it's hard because we're obviously biased.
Yeah, we're pretty biased
because
on this,
we like are diehard fans, but basically the album is The Human Condition by Jon Bellion.
Yep.
Who we've mentioned Jon Bellion quite a bit, but we've never really
I'm
talked
surprised
about
we
him.
haven't really talked, like this is the first time we've done any sort of segment on him, but it also has to do with the fact that he doesn't drop music that often.
Yeah. But I kind of love that. I like the artists who like you don't really hear from them for 2 years, but you know that one time every couple of years you hear from them is going to be like a new project. Probably.
Oh yeah, it's a moment where you have to like stop everything and like you have to go listen to that right now.
Yeah. And for those of you who are not familiar with Jon Bellion, I'm still shocked that he's not bigger than he is. Like he's definitely popular, but there's still a lot of people who are into every genre of music, and I'm like, yo, do you know Jon Bellion? They're like, no, I never heard of him. I'm like, how have you not heard of him?
But the thing is, when you do know, when someone has heard of him, and they're, especially if they're into art or music, they're always like, yes, he's the GOAT of just like creativity.
Yeah, like I was before you came over, I was trying to think of how do I want to express to the listeners what Jon Bellion like means to me or like is to me, and why I think you and I both connect with him so much. And for me, I realized like I think if I could only listen to one artist ever again, I would probably pick Jon Bellion. And it's not because he's not like, I wouldn't say he's my current favorite artist like right now, but I think just in the span of like my whole life, he has had the most just like art that is just like top tier.
And it's very diverse. So it's like if one day you're feeling like a rap mood, you can still kind of have it with him. And one day you're feeling like more chill music, he's got that. If I don't know, he's just got a lot of different styles you can go with. So like if you were to only pick one artist, it would actually make a lot of sense.
Yeah, and that's what I was, because I was like, all right, well, but if I pick Jon Bellion, then I can't have J. Cole. But I was like, but J. Cole is like, you get a rapper, which is good, but it's like, it's just rap. Like J. Cole's not going to sing for you and like have like some
the same way Jon Bellion would. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I don't know. You guys have to go listen to him. But this project, The Human Condition, came out in 2016.
Yeah.
So I was a senior in high school. You were a freshman.
Yeah.
So out of The Human Condition and then Glory Sound Prep was his next album following this one.
Yeah.
That came out in 2018.
Uh-huh.
Both of them were amazing, but do you still think that The Human Condition was better?
Well, so I think like The Human Condition is just like a better album, but I kind of like Glory Sound Prep more. It's a smaller album. It's not as much, but like I think that's just like a personal favorite of mine.
So you think The Human Condition's better, but you like Glory Sound Prep more?
I know that sounds wrong, but like,
no, I get it.
I think Glory Sound Prep is just all around really great. Like there's not a bad moment on it, but like, I think, especially for a new listener, I think for a new listener, Jon Bellion can be kind of overwhelming to listen to.
Yeah, because like you said, it's so much.
Yeah.
It's just so diverse.
Yeah, and it walks the line of like overproduction sometimes, but it's not. It's like it's not like there's too much going on, but like it's pretty close to that.
It's like I feel like so I'm a videographer and editor, so when I think of music, I kind of try and view it in my mind in terms of like video stuff or like movies and stuff.
Yeah.
And when I think of Jon Bellion's music, I think of like the most complex edited movie ever with like crazy, like just insane editing that has like the best editing team ever. But it's like you can still tell what's happening in the scene. You can still feel like everything is coherent.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Jon Bellion is kind of the first artist that Matt has always talked to me about like, oh, this was really well produced, or like I can tell this is really well mixed. And for a while I didn't really get what that meant, but when you listen to Jon Bellion, you can just tell like
Yeah.
You just know how much time and effort and manpower went into these songs.
Like every element of like every song is just like as top tier as it gets. Like there's nothing lazy on it.
Yeah, man.
But yeah.
Well, in the other week we were talking about, you said something along the lines of, it's easy for you to tell when an artist has their hand in the production of their own songs.
Yeah, he might not necessarily be making beats, but he's there for the whole thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. So I wanted to go through, I actually found some interesting little, I guess, fun facts about the album, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
It was through Genius. I was just doing a little bit of research, and Genius has this, I don't know, I guess they reach out to artists when an artist drops a new album, and sometimes it's like a little blog where the artist can, for each song, can write like some fun facts and then also explain some of like the symbolism and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought some of these were kind of interesting. So for the song He Is the Same,
Mm-hmm.
which is the first song in the album. Okay, so he says, this was one of the most fun records to work on in the entire album process. Do you hear the ad-libs behind my voice in the pre-choruses? And then it's the quote, same kid from the high school, jump shot still flame, couple million in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know about this, but he said that's Mylan Haid, or I think that's how you pronounce it, a genius or a mega genius producer who helped me with the entire album, and he was screaming in a closet.
Oh, really?
So what they did was, he said they wanted it to sound far away but still aggressive. So they put him in a closet and put the mic outside the closet door and had him just scream from inside the closet.
I know exactly what you're talking about. It's like that comes at the end of like the chorus sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's weird.
It's just so, that's the type of creativity that I love to hear about. It's like, it goes beyond just like creativity with the instruments and the computer. It's like,
well, that kind of creativity comes from collaboration too, and it's like really important for guys like that to be, when like Jon Bellion could collab with someone that's not a great producer in that way, and they just wouldn't click the same. But when they're both like have that sort of like almost crazy mentality of like, what if we do this? What if we do this?
Yeah,
it can lead to like different avenues where you think of something like that like doesn't make sense, but it does.
Yeah. Have you ever had any just super unorthodox idea for a song or like approach to recording something?
Well, I really like working with Dakota. I've talked to you about him a few times. He's just like a really dope beat maker, and he has a really just like weirdly creative mind where like the other day we're out like taking photos and stuff like that, and we'll just like find like he just always has something really random. Like I never expect anything he ever says, but it like because of that, he can like say in beat making, I make way more like trap style than he does.
Yeah.
But he'll set up this weird sample that'll just get me to do something that I would never do. And I don't know, it just creates a new thing.
Yeah, and that's what you want. You want to be with someone who's gonna kind of push you outside of what you normally would do.
Right,
you know?
exactly. Oh, actually, I want to mention this.
Yeah.
Our boy, Illmind has some production credits on the album too. I think it's the song Weight of the World. Illmind actually produced on the second half of it. That's the one where it's like, it starts out as this really dark, like gloomy, like folk song.
Yeah.
And I think I saw in a video he was talking about it where he basically produced this folk song, which is the first half, sent it over to Illmind and like had him chop it up as a sample and just make a beat out of it. And then he took that, turned it into the second half, and then got B Keys to rap over the second half. And
so Jon Bellion, so going into it, he expected him to.
Yeah, he expected him to like flip it into a beat. So
okay.
like I think the first half was just like a totally done by Jon Bellion and like his team that was working on the album.
Yeah.
And then sent that over to Illmind. Illmind made the beat, sent it back, and then they got B Keys to like rap on it. And it's like, I think it's cool that like both of his big projects and like a lot of his mixtapes have like at least 2 rap songs. Yeah,
and that's the thing, is there's something for everybody with Jon Bellion.
And yeah, that's how I forgot that like New York Soul Part 2 is like, that's like Alec Benjamin's on the cover of that, and or on the chorus of that.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's how I find these artists that I'm like a big fan of now. And I just kind of forget that that's where I originally heard them.
Wait. Alec Benjamin was on New York's, on this album.
Yeah.
Wait, but I'm confused.
That's the song that he like raps, like it's just Jon Bellion rapping. It's not him on the chorus. It's Alec Benjamin.
No, I get that. And I know that, but I'm just confused because I'm trying to think when this album came out, and I saw Jon Bellion on tour.
That was for this album. Like they knew each other, but I think Alec Benjamin was a very small artist.
Yeah, but okay, I'm still confused so for people who don't know the story, so I went to the Jon Bellion concert in 2016 when this album came out. He went on tour, and the very first opener of that show was Alec Benjamin, but this was way before Alec Benjamin was known at all.
He took off in like late 2018, mid 2018.
Yeah, so this was like Alec Benjamin was like literally no one knew him.
Yeah,
but he was the opener. Was he also? So he was already on the recorded version of that song, and that's why he was the opener? Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure it was just like one of the small artists that Jon Bellion like is a fan of and like was willing to fly out or whatever.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't remember seeing Alec Benjamin like ever come out and perform that song.
I think because you saw the first tour they did for the album. I saw the second one they did. And when he came, they had Alec Benjamin on that one too. And so when he came out, he's like, "My name's Alec Benjamin. You guys probably don't know me, but you might know me from this." And then they played just the intro of that song, and I was like, "Oh, that makes sense."
So then did he stay up on stage and sing the chorus at the concert?
Remember, to be honest, I've seen Jon Bellion live 3 times, and I just honestly don't remember the first time when I saw that song. But
yeah, well, I wanted to actually. That's kind of a good little segue. A question I had is so Jon Bellion obviously collaborated with a ton of people for this album.
Yeah.
For the choruses and obviously like different producers and everything. And so still talking about the first song, He Is the Same.
Yeah.
He was also explaining in this little article, Audra May, I don't know if that's how I pronounce it, but he says that Audra May is one of my favorite vocalists since the beginning of time. So to have her come in after Mark Williams, Rick Volta, Mylan Hade, and I finished the record was a blessing. So how come artists do this where like on certain songs they'll say featuring Black Keys or featuring Travis Mendez, but then other songs they won't?
I don't know specifically. I don't think Audra May is like an artist necessarily. Like I don't know if she has a catalog of her own music. But I know that she is a featured artist on his song Luxury. Mm-hmm. And so, like, I don't know why. I think on He Is the Same, I could be wrong, but I think she's more doing, like, background vocals and, like, singing the chorus with them. Like, she doesn't have any, like, leading parts. I don't think it's really just artists' choice on when they put featuring and when they don't, because there could be Astroworld where very clearly, like, artists have features, but it doesn't say any of them. Yeah. And there's times when an artist could like sing in the background and they'll actually put them as a feature on the song.
Yeah, it just seems weird to me because don't you think it would kind of, obviously the artist is still getting paid, but wouldn't it hurt an artist more to not have them labeled as a feature than it would just to throw them in there? I mean, maybe visually it wouldn't look as good if you have like 7 people featured on it.
I don't know why they don't just put as a feature. Like
it just seems like it would make sense, but maybe there's reasoning that I don't understand.
Maybe it's like, I don't know, different. I'm sure a lot of the times it has to do with how like the payment is negotiated, whether it's like, because obviously it's going to help the guest artists a lot if they're featured on a big artist album. So like maybe they'd pay them less, but I don't think that's what Jon Bellion did. He also was the first album he released is under that label, even though he was signed to them for years before. Yeah. So maybe that had something to do with it.
Okay. But. So for another song on the project that I really like called 80s Films, something that I thought was interesting is Jon Bellion said, Phil Collins and Sting were the absolute criteria for melodic choices. I hung up a sign that read, "Would Phil and Sting be impressed?" on the wall of the studio. Have you ever felt that way? Like, have you ever had kind of a standard where you're creating a song and you're like, all right, this song fits the vibe of like, I don't know, just let's say like Russ. Right, let's say you're trying to create like a song that's more like something different for you, but you're trying to model it after melodic. Russ.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, have you ever felt like, would Russ be impressed by this? And like, if not, I'm going to change it.
There's definitely been times like that. I think it's also kind of dangerous. You can look at it as like a negative thing. Like if you're all of a sudden like, oh, I need to make something like this. Like, because ultimately I feel like with art, it's like, as long as you're happy with it, that's all that really matters. Yeah. But that's a really good way to push yourself creatively. Like there's been times where I'm like, I'll make something and I'm like, I know this song isn't for everybody, but like I've literally thought like with Jon Bellion specifically, like I want to get to the point with my career where I'm making something that Jon Bellion could listen and be like, wow,
Yeah.
like this is real music.
Yeah, well, you've sent me little demos of songs you're working on, and you're like, all right, this is different than anything I've sent you before, but like you're trying something new and you're being a little more experimental.
Exactly.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It's hard to just talk about like, oh, which song's my favorite, because they're all absolute bangers.
Yeah, and you know what's funny though, because it came out in 2016. Like any album that I was into at that time, that it's interesting for me to see how I've like stuck with it, because I was a freshman in high school. Like I'm like a completely different person now, and there's songs on there that I maybe didn't like as much when they first came out, and then now I'm like, wow, this is musically, this is one of the best songs I've ever heard. Like,
yeah,
I wasn't a big fan of like, I wasn't like not a fan of it, but I didn't really love Guillotine. I didn't really love Robot or iRobot.
iRobot, yeah.
And I think, what else did I not really like that much?
I'll pull up the album.
There's a Morning in America, The Good in Me. Like those are songs that like grew on me a ton.
Yeah.
And same with like Fashion. Like I didn't really like that song when I first heard it, but like there's just different things you appreciate over time, which is why we do this. We're currently reviewing an album from 4 years ago, not reviewing the newest album.
Yeah, and I mean, I like this segment for the same reasons, and it's crazy to me because where I thought you were going with that, what you were saying there, I thought you were gonna say like a lot of the albums I listened to from 2016, I'm not really a fan of anymore.
Yeah, which is true.
Yeah, I mean, for me, when I think of 2016. I listen to a lot of music, but this is the only music that I still listen to from 2016.
Right.
For the
I
most
think
part.
For me, 2016 makes me think of that album. It makes me think of For Your Eyes Only, which came out at the end. And then Lecrae had a really good album that's like, I think is way better than all of his other music he's been releasing. I think
is that the one with the black and white where he's like
Church
on the hood
Close
of a
3?
car?
Yep, that one. It has the whole like short film for it. But anyways, that's also the year I really got into Logic. Like 2015 is when I started to get into him, and then 2016 is when I got into him. And it's interesting now because my opinions of Logic have just been so like roller coaster. Yeah. But I'm like, ultimately I have respect for him. Like I went through a little phase where I was like kind of ashamed to be like, because it's really not a cool thing to be like, oh yeah, I like Logic.
Yeah, it's kind of corny now.
But it's like I feel like I think it's even more corny to like let your opinion be changed by other people's opinion.
Yeah,
so
no, I agree. I mean,
listen to what you want to listen to.
Yeah, listen. Logic's a fucking amazing artist. If you like his music, like his music. I mean, listen, I like Hobson, and Hobson is Hobson, like bro. The most corny. Like being a Hobson fan is the most corny thing you can be, but I still like his music. So, all right. Well, the last thing before we kind of move on here, that we wanted to talk about is the outro called "Hand of God."
Yeah,
is crazy.
It's really like, I don't know. It's kind of a corny word to use, but like epic. Like it's like a couple minutes of just this outro song that's really dope. And then it transitions with the little chorus into there. It's a whole choir singing the chorus of the song. And then they eventually, like the lead singer or whatever, there's a few people singing the chorus. People in the background start singing choruses to the other songs in the album. And they basically go through the whole album, like merging it all together in a way that just like works really well where you wouldn't think it would. I don't know. There's probably a term for like what it is when a choir does something like that, but it really makes you feel like you're at like almost like a play or like a live like theater. It
feels so much bigger than a song. It feels like a cinematic experience or something.
Where you're like it like every character's like bowing, saying they're like bye or whatever. But it's just, I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah, I when I listen to that, I still get goosebumps because I feel like that's kind of the pinnacle of like, it's the perfect way to wrap it up because it really is just like everything coming together.
Yeah.
And I just feel like it's pulling out all the stops. And I was telling Matt before we started recording, like, I don't know much about producing or mixing or anything, but I have to imagine that task of trying to mix all the songs into one where it sounds good
Yeah.
has got to be incredibly difficult.
Yeah, not even like as a mixing engineer where you're like just tweaking sounds, like just making the whole thing sound cohesive when it's that experimental is a crazy process.
Yeah. So there you have it, guys. That's our thoughts on the human condition. I mean, we could talk about it forever, but you guys definitely seriously got to go listen to it.
We wrap it up after saying all that and we're like, I'd probably rate it 3 out of 10.
Yeah, it's all right. I mean, no, but Matt, you've seen him 3 times live, right?
Yeah.
I've seen him twice live. Wait, so you saw him twice for the same album?
Yeah, it was kind of weird because I was like, I wonder how different it's going to be. And to be honest, it was the exact same show, just with different openers and stuff. But I don't know. I feel like I got to appreciate it differently seeing it the second time. Also, the third time when we went to see for Glory Sound Prep, it was completely different. It was way more of like a live band, live show feel.
Yeah, that was cool. And it was crazy because, so Matt and I went together the second time for his newer album, but it was insane to see the size of the crowds in 2016 and then the size of the crowds in 2018. It was like 20 times the size.
Crazy, yeah.
It was so cool to see how big he had gotten. But also, Jon Bellion is kind of unique in the sense that, I mean, I'm sure other artists do it, but he, in his live shows, he always kind of remixes his own songs.
Yeah, he's got a beat pad and he'll chop up samples like on stage live, which is crazy. Like that's like the most hip hop thing there is, and like no rappers do that. No like maybe like DJs do that, but no like rappers are out there doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it's cool because he made it very clear, like, listen, you guys paid money to be here and you can listen to my album on your phone like anytime you want, but I want this to be an experience that is something different than just the album.
Yeah, and when we went, he did the whole thing where so he has his band that he signed on stage, and then he also has like his actual like band that plays with him when he does live tours, and he'll basically just conduct like a song like on the spot. He'll like beatbox into the mic, and then the drummer will play that exact beat. Then he'll like make up a little melody, someone will play it on guitar, and then like he'll give a little like melody for the person to sing, and then they'll just create like a song out of it. And then remember that, and he'll start like freestyling.
That
was the most like insane thing I've seen live for sure.
Yeah, that was definitely the craziest thing I've ever seen in a live performance.
Yeah.
Like he's literally a conductor.
Yeah,
he started with nothing, and he would literally point and be like, all right, you're gonna do this.
Yeah,
and then he'd go to the next guy, and they would like. And he just brought this original song out of nothing.
Exactly.
Just on the spot. And I don't know, that's probably kind of choreographed beforehand.
I mean, I think they have a good understanding because they all work together really well. But it's also like him knowing their strong suits. So he knows like, oh, if I give them this type of beat, like he'll be able to play it. If I give them this melody, they'll be able to play it.
Yeah. It was super cool. So definitely go listen, guys. I want him to be like the most famous artist in the world, and I don't think he will be, but he definitely is talented.
Yeah, he's one of the few people that are like really bringing value to like creative people, creative art. But yeah.
Oh, and you guys should definitely look up if you're into just like watching stuff. Every time he drops a project, he has a full documentary. Shout out to Dexter.
Yeah,
he has this video guy that works with him that I've always followed for a long time named Dexter, but Dexter documents the whole journey of creating this album start to finish, and they basically turn it into like a 40 minute documentary.
I've seen the Glory Sound Prep one like 10 times, bro. It's so good.
Yeah, it's so cool. So anyways, with that being said, we're going to wrap it up here because in 10 minutes we're having another guest come here. So we're going to record the next episode.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, guys, thank you so much for listening. Matt, did you have fun?
I did have fun.
All right. Well, where can they follow you?
You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at @TheMattMog.
You guys can follow the show at NAS Podcast on Instagram. And also, check out our YouTube version. We have new episodes every single Monday. If you guys have any recommendations for people we should interview, let us know. Because with quarantine, like we didn't really want to do any Zoom shows, but we are. We are now because when we started the show, we're like, oh yeah, maybe by like New Year's we could like have people back in the studio, but it's not looking that way. So Definitely recommend some people we can reach out to and do a Zoom interview with. But
yeah, and tune in next week because it's going to be a good episode.
Yeah, probably our favorite one yet. But with that being said, drop a like if you guys enjoyed. Follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Leave a review on the Apple Podcast app. Seriously, it helps out a lot. We're trying to get to 50 reviews. So with that being said, see you guys next time.